iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.
Hi, this is S.J. Arniger from iHeartRadio Broadway. Today, we're talking all about Broadway Bears Zoom In, which will go live August 1st at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on iHeartRadioBroadway.com and the Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS YouTube channel. Today, I am joined by Tony Award winner director, choreographer, Broadway Bears founder Jerry Mitchell, and James Brown III, actor, model, fashion editor. He's appeared in over 10 Broadway shows, is in the current cast of Harry Potter, and has been seen in past Broadway Bears. Please help me welcome Jerry Mitchell and James Brown III. Jerry and James, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
So first question, how are you both doing with everything going on right now?
Jerry, I'll let you take it. We're both so polite.
I have to go first. All right, well, I've been in this house for 140 days. I have no complaints, absolutely none. I was in a workshop. The workshop finished at fateful March 12th or 13th. Came out here and thinking, you know, a couple weeks, this will be done. And yeah, and here we are. And like I said, I'm very grateful. I've got outdoor space. I'm in a house, but it's, you know, good days and bad days. Trying to stay focused, working with writers a lot, virtually writers on new projects, and getting ready for everything to come back when we can come back and I can go see James. Aren't you still in Harry Potter?
I am, yes. Yeah, so I was on my way to rehearsal the day it happened, and I had just read the news that the NBA was shutting down, and I thought in my head, it'll be awfully irresponsible if Broadway is like not right behind them. And
Right.
Sure enough, it was like an hour later. And yeah, almost like Jerry, on the 13th that morning, I was on a flight down to my place in Miami. So I'm here in Miami. I've been here since then. And I guess in the same way, it's been amazing. I feel like I've just given in to what the situation is and found the positive of it. And it's been amazing to just take the time. I put myself on a writing schedule. So I write every day from 12 to 5. And I've been cooking, and I've just been taking the time that I really haven't had in 19 years of being on Broadway, doing 8 shows a week. I just haven't had this kind of time. Luckily, I suppose, but it's here. We can't fight it. So, you know, make the best of it.
I always say in these interviews that the Broadway community always finds the positive in situations like this. And so I feel like because we are empathetic people, we go to the positive before we go to the negative. And that's been so nice to see within our community.
The Broadway community is a community that is constantly having to start from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Every time a show closes, you start over. Every time a workshop ends, you start over. It's what we do on a daily basis. There is no security in our career, period. So it doesn't matter how good you get or how famous you get or how rich you get, you're still batting. It's back to home plate every time it's a new project.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the reason why we're here today is to talk about Broadway Bears. So August 1st, 9:30 p.m., Broadway Bears Zoom In is happening. I'm so excited. iHeartRadio Broadway is part of the streaming partnership for it.
Thank you.
Of course, I wasn't going to turn that opportunity down. So before we talk about what's to be expected on August 1st, Jerry, can you, for those that don't know, how did Bears start?
Oh boy. Well, the quick story is I was in the Will Rogers Follies. It was the last Broadway show I danced in, and I had a little solo on a drum in the opening number, the Willamania number, where I was dancing practically naked. I had nothing on except a little loincloth over the front of me, some bells, a headdress on my head, and some bells around my wrists and ankles. And I was getting a lot of attention. And we were trying to raise money, the cast, for the Easter Bonnet, which was an event that Broadway Cares already had. And Jason Opsahl, John Gunnan, Troy Johnson, and Jack Doyle were in my dressing room. And Jason said, why don't you go dance on the bar at Splash and raise the money for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS? And I had a light bulb went off over my head. And I said, I'm going to put on a show. And I called 6 other guys who were in shows and looked like James. and I choreographed an opening number, and we danced in a bar, and we were all wet and sweaty when we left. We had to do 2 shows. There was such a big line, and I took it there the next day. It was a pillowcase full of $8,000. I said, I can do this better. I'll add girls. I did girls 6 months later, did the second Bears. We made 17. I said, I can do this better. I'll add a theme. Did the third one a year later, and we made like 30-some thousand. And I said, and cut to last year, Broadway Bears 29, we made over $2 million in one night of burlesque and stripping and fun. So, yeah.
In the 30-year history of Bears, did you ever expect that it would turn into one of the most iconic Broadway events that happen year after year?
I never expected it to grow the way it has, but I also saw each step of the way the possibility. And you know, James is one of hundreds, maybe thousands of dancers who now have participated in the event. A lot of times when you're doing a fundraising event, it will burn out after 10 years. There's something about the spirit in which Broadway Bears was created that has been maintained past my 13 years into my producing, and having people like Leah, who's directing this year, and Nick, and Dennis Jones, and Lauren Lataro, and Jody Mocha, and Sergio Trujillo, and all of these young directors and choreographers who are working on Broadway now, who were first choreographing in Broadway Bears. It's just the spirit of the community has come together in such a beautiful way and been maintained. It's really wonderful.
So this year, unfortunately, due to COVID-19, the 30th anniversary had to be canceled. But
Postponed.
But about a month ago, it was announced that Broadway Bears Zoom In was going to take place on August 1st. How did the idea of Zoom In come to be?
Well, what we do, James can talk about this, we always meet on a Wednesday between the matinee and the evening to sign up for the Broadway Bears. And COVID had just happened, and now we were supposed to sign up. So we had a Zoom meeting. Anyways, we decided to have a Zoom meeting. 400 people showed up. It was crazy. And I thought, we have to do something. We have to come together and do something. So we started to talk about how to best create something with some new stuff, not too much new stuff, looking back at 29 years, some of the great strips we've done, but also talking to some people who've been involved and getting just little quibs about what happened in Broadway Bears and how we got to where we are. So that's kind of how it all came together.
And James, how many Broadway Bears have you been a part of?
I was just this morning. I was like doing the
a lot.
I think this will technically be my 8th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does it mean to you as a Broadway community member to have this event take place every single year and raise as much money as they have for Broadway Cares?
Yeah, it really is unbelievable. You know, Broadway Cares, and I think most Broadway actors will say this, but Broadway Cares is such an amazing organization that is near and dear to all of our hearts for so many reasons, whether it's personal, whether it's indirect. And so to have this event that happens every year, it's, you know, I was just saying this to some friends, this event where everyone has volunteered their time. Backstage, on stage, the crew. It is the largest show of its type to have everyone volunteer, and then to make as much money that it makes. But also to see it grow. My first one was in 2005. But to see in that 15 years, people put it on their resumes. People are proud to say they're in Broadway Bears. There's nothing better than to get a phone call from a choreographer and be like, I want you to be my lead strip, or to get the email and you know that you're in the hip hop number and you really wanted to be in the, you know, all those things are so exciting every year to have that. To get the call, my first one, I got an email from Jerry asking me to be on the poster in like 2007. And that was like, I'm a poster boy. Like, you know, so.
I mean, it's, you know, the thing about Broadway Bears is it celebrates the person in the show who usually doesn't get to take the last bow. The performers who are backing up the stars are the stars for the night, and we get to be celebrated in that way. And also we get asked to do things in Broadway Bears, I danced in the first one, but all of the choreographers are trying it out for the first time, and they're working with the best in the business. So the dancers are getting to do steps they'll never get to perform in a Broadway show, and they're getting to dance with other people that they may never dance in a Broadway show with, because all of the people come together from different casts and we cross-pollinate. Nobody's with anybody from their cast per se. It's not just the cast of this doing it or the cast of that. It's just the community coming together.
Right. And I also feel like not just the dancers and the cast that are on stage, but those that are participating backstage, it's something that they look forward to every single year. I will completely admit, I go to the Friedman Health Center as my primary care doctor, and my doctor was telling me that he's the doctor that sits backstage during the show as the doctor on call. And he said it's one of the most wonderful things to witness everyone coming together to be a part of this event, and I just get to sit there and watch. So it was amazing to see that different perspective from an on-call doctor.
Sure.
So the themes of Broadway Bears have been legendary in the past. Do you both, I know Jerry, it may be hard to pick a theme, but do you both have a favorite theme from past years?
It's impossible to pick a favorite, because this, you know, you never think you're going to top last year's show, and somehow you always do. Mm-hmm. But I will always remember the 7th Broadway Bears before James was born. Because it was called the Bearest Show on Earth. And we had done 6 up until that point, and I was still kind of conceiving and putting it together. And I was walking through Times Square, and I saw the poster for Chicago was just about to open on Broadway. And I said, who did that poster? And I found out it was a guy named Drew Hodges, who was at Spotco. And I went to him and I said, you have to make the poster for Broadway Bears this year. And I asked Andrew Lippa to write a theme song, and he wrote a theme song. And it was the first time, and Mac joined us as a sponsor, and it was the first time the show came together like a show. We had an opening number, we had an ad campaign, we had Mac there doing makeup, it was like, okay, this is now taken a step, and everything was circus themed. And I thought, that's the way we got to keep doing it. So
yeah. James, do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I think one of my favorites is Rock Hard.
It's great.
It was one of my favorite visual campaigns. I just thought was so fun. And then the show itself was you know, the show always is amazing, and each year it tops itself. But I feel like I tend to judge them by the ad campaigns because the shows are always going to be great. It's, you know, they're imaginative and amazing. And so, yeah, but Rock Hard was one of my favorites.
To be honest, I think one of my favorites was Strip You. That was a fun show. The psych class number will always be one of my favorite things.
Maybe you'll see a little piece of it.
Oh, okay. That is definitely one of my favorite moments during a Broadway Bears performance. I will say that. So speaking of the show on August 1st, can you give us some insider information of what viewers are going to be able to see for Broadway Bears Zoom In?
Well, James, did you shoot in Florida? Were you
did.
There?
Yeah, so the exciting thing about this year is, so I'm in the opening number in some way.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. And
I've seen the edit.
Oh, good. I shot on this like little island right in front of my house down here that overlooks the ocean, and for some reason, like in the shots, it looks like I'm on a like green screen, but it is in real life. But yeah,
I wasn't looking at the ocean.
Well, good, then I'm doing my job right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be awesome because, like Jerry said, there will be highlights from the last 29 shows, but then there's some new stuff. You know, we received, you know, all this instructional videos and all these things, and we got to shoot it. And it's fun this year because the number that I'm in, unlike normal years, it's live, right? Like you do it, audience sees it, you mess up. Here, I got to shoot it until I was excited about it. You know, I got to like make sure the sun was like right in the right place. You know, sweat was perfect. You know, so.
I've been watching it for the past 2 or 3 weeks as we've been editing the pieces of the show together. And So yeah, the opening is really sensational, and then we've got a fun closing, and then most of it is numbers from the past years, like James said, and then we've got a lot of friends and celebrities who've been part of Broadway Bears coming on and talking here, talking there, and yeah, it's
So
going to be really fun.
what have been some of the challenges to produce Zoom In?
Just everybody's in 18 different places. The things that you could usually do, like in an edit and something like this, you could all be in a room together and making changes rapidly. It just takes longer because you have to do a whole series of notes, send it to the editor, and then they get, and then they get it, and then the sound person has to mix it, and then it just takes time. It takes a lot of time.
And there's something for everyone for this Zoom In, I'm assuming, to enjoy.
There's always something for everyone.
Yeah.
We've got boys, we've got girls, we've got animals, we got it all.
Got it all. So I know this is not exactly what we all thought the 30th anniversary was going to be. It is postponed until next year. But what are you the most proud of for Zoom In happening so quickly?
I have to say, once again, I was so moved by that initial Zoom call with all of those folks showing up and wanting to do something, and that sort of, like James said, just everybody wanting to come together and work together to make a difference. And Broadway Cares really does take care of the community, but it reaches far beyond our community. It reaches to so many people that we'll never know we're helping. And not just with the AIDS crisis, with a lot of other outreach. And so it's just important, especially now when people are stuck at home with no jobs and they need to know where they're going to get their medicine, where they're going to get their food, where they're going to get, the money to pay their rent. It's important.
And James, same question to you.
Yeah, I think I had kind of started on the journey for this year's original show a little earlier because I was excited. I got the call again to be on the poster. And so we did the poster shoot for the 30th, a few months ago, or many months ago now, it seems like. And then once the pandemic happened, I was bummed because I know how important this event is to Broadway Cares, and then to really the rest of the country and to the world, how much money Broadway Cares gives to, all the service organizations, to the Actors Fund. And so I was bummed because I didn't know if there was going to be an event. Mm-hmm. And so when they did send out the emails that they were going to do a virtual Bears and that we were still going to raise money, it was really exciting to know that we were, in the midst of this pandemic, we were still going to push through and do what we do what the Broadway community does, do what Broadway Cares does, and raise money and put on a show and brighten people's lives and also better their lives, medically. And so I shouldn't have doubted it because that's what we do,
Well, and again, just the fact that this whole entire community in the last, how many months we've been a part of this, pandemic, but let's say 5 months, it feels like, the fact that our industry just continuously comes together to be able to help raise money for Broadway Cares, the Actors Fund, the other various causes that have been out there. So I can't wait for people to be able to see Broadway Bears Zoom In on August 1st. It's going to be really exciting.
Thank you so much.
To me, I think that's the exciting thing about this year is because it's happening virtually, because it's happening on YouTube channels and on websites, it's actually going to bring it to more people than it usually reaches, in the two shows.
That is really true. They're all the people who I've spoken to who've never been able to make it into New York for Broadway Bears. Now they have no excuse.
Right.
They can actually see it in their home. They can watch it naked if they want. I don't care what they do as long as they donate to us.
Yeah.
Also,
and they'll see the highlights.
And also not having to call out of work the next day because you can only get tickets to the late show.
Exactly.
So there is that benefit as well. Jerry and James, thank you so much for joining me today. As mentioned, Broadway Bears Zoom In will go live on August 1st at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This free Frisky stream will be available on iHeartRadioBroadway.com and BroadwayCares.org. Please, please consider making a donation to Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. Every dollar donated will help those across the country affected by HIV/AIDS, COVID-19, and other critical illnesses. And to learn more, please visit BroadwayCares.org. Again, Jerry James, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank
I
you.
cannot wait to see this on August 1st. I'm so excited.
Thanks.
Us too. Thanks.
Thank
Bye,
you.
James.
Do I have your attention? 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 Do I have your attention?
iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.